Legal Festive Edition. My name is Abhishek Grover, and I am a student of BALB 5th year, School of Law, LUTHRA Professional University. Our guest for the day is a senior advocate from the Honorable Supreme Court of India, Ma'am Mrs. GEETA LUTHRA. Mrs. GEETA LUTHRA is a designated senior advocate. Mrs. LUTHRA has been practicing in the Honorable Supreme Court of India, the Delhi High Court, and the various other courts. She is a vice president of the Indian Council of Arbitration, FICCI, member of ICC, India Chapter Core Committee, a member of Lavasia and International Academy of Family Lawyers. She is also a member of the Women's White Collar Defense Association. She was awarded the prestigious INLACS Foundation Scholarship for Law at Cambridge, where she pursued an LLM and an MPhil in International Law. So we have Ms. GEETA LUTHRA today as a guest, and the topic for the day is Indian judicial system.
How long do you want me to speak?
Sorry,
Oh, how long would you like me to address you?
ma'am. Basically, we are a law students, ma'am, and you are a role model to us. We would like to you to like we can hear you as long as we want, as you want to speak, but whatever suits you and whatever time is comfortable to you.
Are there any other speakers today?
No, ma'am, you're the only one, ma'am.
All right. So I let me start by talking about what justice means to me. Justice means to me that every person, rich or poor, should be able to have access to justice. Now, in actual practice, when we may have studied in all universities abroad, but at, in those countries, the poverty is not so much. And so the thought was that most people would have access to justice if they felt that some wrong had been done to them. But coming back to India, and when I started practice, it was a very happy event that legal fees were in fact very low. So medical fees were low, legal fees were low. So you saw people come for access to justice who were fighting for the most abysmal amounts. So people fighting for a jhuggi, which rental would have been 500 or 2,500 or even lesser than that. And this was a pleasant aspect of law and justice that I saw in India. In the US, for example, fees were so prohibitive that a lot of people for settle outside the court and realize that litigation is too prohibitively expensive. This you didn't see in India. I remember doing cases of a person in a jhuggi claiming adverse possession, so on. And legal issues were the same. Whether you are fighting for somebody who is fighting for his little tenement or who's fighting for his palace, the issues of adverse possession, of it being Gausapa land, being under the revenue laws, what laws would apply, what would not apply, would transfer property apply, would rent tax apply, all those were the same. But it's just the scale and the cost which was lesser. Over the years, litigation has become more and more expensive. So, does it mean that the quality of lawyers has gone up? Or does it mean that litigation in India has come on its own and has arrived? I recently got a question by a lawyer in the US saying, I want to know about the top 5, 10 senior advocates in this country. I want to know how they can charge such fees for 2 minutes appearance or 5 minutes appearance. We don't get this kind of fees even in the US. So the fact is, things have changed. Are changing. Question is the number of people coming into law. Law was a noble profession, always considered a noble profession, such that people did not, it was the elite and people from very, who could afford it, who would join the legal profession. When I decided to study law, I was told, I said, remember, there is at least a 7-year gestation period. You will not have any means, you will not have any economic assets. For very long, you will not be surviving. You will have to be dependent on your parent or husband or family member or your own savings to survive for 7 years. It's only then that you might start earning a penny or two. But today, it's completely different. Today, it's not like this at all. And I'm happy to note that the legal profession has, in that sense, become one, not a profession only for the nobility and the elite, but a profession of the common man. The other is, it has become a profession where you can start earning some amounts of money to start with. And if you're in corporate law, you can start earning very well. So the question now is, what about justice? Where does justice fit in? If litigation costs are high, people will not be able to have access to justice. If there is a strong legal aid system, you will have access to justice. So when I started the profession at that time, uh, there was no concept of visiting Tihar jail prisoners. And it was the Delhi High Court and maybe other high courts, but telling you my experience. The Delhi High Court said, we have to have someone visit Tihar jail twice a week. So they put it as a job of a district judge who came on to become a High Court judge, Justice R.L. Gupta. And Justice R.L. Gupta asked me to be involved with legal aid. I'd probably been in practice 5 years or something. I had a lot of zeal, and I still have, to do some social work, some legal aid cases, some pro bono work. And that should be without looking at name and fame for yourself. It should be just your contribution to society and to give back to a system that has helped you to become a lawyer. So when I started doing work with Justice R. Gupta, and he became confident in me and confident in my competence. So he asked me, he said, would you be able to go to Tihar jail? Those days, going a short distance felt like a long distance because Delhi has become sprawling. Going to Tihar jail, I felt it was like going to another city because it was good 20, 30 kilometers away. So I said, there's no way I can drive. I will take some transport, private or public, and go there and do work. So twice a week, I started going to the juveniles. Then there was a juvenile home next to it, started working there. Then started working with women prisoners. It was very sad. There were a lot Lot of women, and I don't know the position now, maybe it's still slightly true, but people have become more aware of their rights. Lot of women who were languishing in jail for no good reason. They were languishing because they had no one to pull them out. Many times, the police, in order to increase or show better law and order, had put them in for vagrancy. Now, there was no such thing they could find, so they would put them that they've created a dispute under 107 151. They are guilty of loitering under the police law. Now, all these were bailable offenses. But such women didn't have access to justice, didn't have access to lawyers. So they would sit in Tihar, sometime 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, for something for which you can fill a bail bond and be out. But they just didn't have access. So very sad. And so I tried to do my little bit with a colleague of mine to help these women. And that was on behalf of the Delhi Legal Aid Services. So I've been very integrally associated from the time that it was started taking baby steps. And for women, it became more and more liberal. So women across the board were able to avail legal aid services. Men only of an income group, which was a particular income group. And therefore, you saw legal aid grow in size and in numbers. Then, one of the interesting aspects was this visits to Tihar jail. And some of you realize there are very many good Samaritans in society. There were people in Tihar who had been, in fact, one of them I met very recently, again, fortuitously in connection with one of my cases. So he was caught in a bank fraud, and these women could not afford sureties. So, women who had been brought to Delhi, literally trafficking in women, sold to a person, and put in for some false case, didn't have the money, didn't know her address in Bengal where to go back to, couldn't write, and therefore couldn't tell her family, I'm inside. And I'm sure there are women like that today. I'm sure there are men like that today. And all of them are crying for help. So even if out of our 100% work, if we try and target 5 or 10%, and you will see non-genuine cases. But if we start targeting 5-10% of those people, giving a little bit, 10% of our time, say if we are working 8 hours, if we give 20 minutes or half an hour, we can do a lot of good. So there were these people who were good Samaritans in Tehar, who would help them raise the money or give them gifts in order to get themselves bailed out. So we saw many, many harsh cases and that to me is justice. Justice is the case where young boys who are working under 14 and who are virtually under the yoke of bonded labor have been given reprieve by judgments of the Supreme Court in Bandua Mukti Morcha. In the Bihar blindings case, justice is that those people who were languishing in jail for no good reason, they are able to get out and get bails. Justice is, for example, when you see the migrant laborers and somebody goes to court and says, let's help them. Somebody helps them socially on the road. somebody goes to court and gets the government to give them reprieve and to give them trains and buses to go somewhere. Somebody who gets them potable water to drink when they are fleeing in fear. So, justice means a lot to everyone, and it should, justice would have to appear to be fair even to the common man. So, I'll come back to this issue of migrants just now. At the moment, let me, in fact, for briefly dwell on what is, how in a democracy do we look um, at a system which will ensure justice. Judiciary, all three should have checks and balances. Through the history in India, you will see sometimes the executive is strong, sometimes the judiciary is strong. Ideally, both should be equally strong and should be a check on each other. But in principle, that doesn't really happen. One or the other becomes stronger. The other pillar is media, and you've been seeing a lot of media and its role in several cases. If you people were lawyers when the Indrani Mukherjee case came up, you would have realized how it became a media trial. Horrible. I'm not saying that a person, if indeed they are guilty of an offense, shouldn't have to face conviction. In the Hathras case, I'm not saying if a person is guilty, they should not face conviction. I'm not saying that if in the Nirbhaya case somebody is guilty, they should not face conviction. I am not saying in Riya Chakravarti's case, if someone's guilty, they should not face conviction and trial. But the fact is that it should not be a media trial. Justice means that there should be fairness. Justice means there should not be mob mentality. Justice means that you shouldn't be lynching somebody just because media has reported that so and so person has done cow slaughter or so and so person has committed a rape. Justice means you have to ensure that those who are strong and powerful will not get away with wrongdoing, but those who are strong and powerful or weak and not powerful also get access to justice, get justice in the terms of our going to a court, getting a trial, getting a good lawyer to represent them. And this is what is a denial of justice. Recently, in a POXO matter, I was reading the cross examination, and the lawyer has not done the cross examination. And in POXO cases, you are not allowed to call the prosecutrix again, and far as possible, and the courts will not agree. But what do you do? Because the lawyer was some incompetent lawyer, because that poor person could not afford much. He's not literate enough to realize what is a good lawyer and what is not a good lawyer. Who will be able to do the proper cross examination or not? So, what does that mean? Is that justice? No, it's not justice. Last year, the National Law School Dwarka did, they got a survey done over 2-3 years of death penalty cases. And you'll find it sad to say that most people who are accused of death penalty are those who are from the poor echelons of society. Why is it happening? It happens because they cannot afford good counsel. Is that justice? No, that's not justice. That's injustice. But the fact is that the same two lawyers cannot, or three lawyers or four lawyers top, cannot appear for everyone, neither in terms of time nor in terms of money. So, good lawyers who want to contribute a part of their lives to doing social service, to doing pro bono work, doing legal aid work, should look not only at the High Court, Supreme Court level, have to look at trials, because the whole base of a case is set up in trial. If the lawyer of the accused asks a stupid question, which is like, the act of rape was committed, you weren't present. It is like he is admitting that there was an act of rape. So there will be aspects of this which have to be cross-examination is a double-edged sword. It has to be done very carefully. How will you give access to justice if in cross-examination, unfortunately in India, it is more and more believed that cross-examination should be left to those in trial court, and senior counsels should not be conducting cross. On the other hand, that's the toughest part of law. It is the most sensitive part of law. It is the place where the foundation of the whole case is laid. Now, coming to this aspect, I have told you that according to me, there will be many people who are deprived of good lawyers. Justice, or the justice delivery system, has also become more expensive, more prohibitive. Court fees in civil cases has increased. Lawyers' fees has increased. The overall access to courts has decreased because of these two aspects. And that's why there is a gap between the attempt to give justice to all and giving justice to all. There is a huge gap, and it is because of this gap that sometimes you will see that our justice delivery system is failing. Our justice delivery system is also failing because we do not do trials, we do not do investigations scientifically. Now, if I were to give you my version, and I have not been following the Riya Chakravarti case recently, but if I were to examine it from the viewpoint of a person not who has read all the postmortems or inquests, but who has had an occasion to see several aspects of it. The Bombay police, because there was an unnatural death, it was their task. I think it's under 177, I'm not recalling, but it was their task to prepare an inquest report. For inquest report, they have to examine people. They examined the boys' parents also, who didn't say there was any foul play. Then they were still taking time. First, it came up that it's 42 days. Then I think it was finally 50 days, by which time it was transferred by the Supreme Court. In the meantime, Bihar registers a case saying that an old man, the boy's father, is living there. How relevant is that? Is this a matter of politics? Is it because elections were happening? Is it because there is a political fight between the those who are in power in Bihar and those who are in power in Bombay? We don't know. But an FIR should not have been registered, not when an inquest was being looked. Because if they had seen it's an unnatural death, they had to register. And it's not normal, they would have had to register an FIR. So the zero FIR was uncalled for. Once they've done a zero FIR, they have to transfer it, even if they had done it, back to Bombay and leave it to Bombay's devices. They can't send it to CBI like this. Firstly, they had no power to register, then they couldn't do it as a zero FIR. They could only do it as zero FIR. They had to transfer. Who are they to investigate? What is their prerogative in Bombay? And look at Bombay police or Bombay municipality, that some police officers you allow them to come, other police officers you tell them you can't come because of quarantine and COVID, because they're ultimately public servants. So the question herein is, there are many flaws in the justice delivery system. Those flaws can never be watertight protection against them. But we can keep improving. We can keep making our investigation more thorough, more quick, and we can do it more scientifically. In criminal law, at least, you will give more justice. Now, the other aspect is what is justice? Justice means different things to different people. In Saudi Arabia, it may mean eye for eye. In India, does it mean eye for eye? You have killed 4 members of X's family, therefore X will be allowed to kill 4 members of your family. Is it an eye for an eye? Mahatma Gandhi said, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth will make the whole world blind. So you obviously don't believe in it. That's called retributive justice. You do exactly what the other person's done to you. That's not what justice system is. What is the view of the newer views? One is deterrence. Justice should be there to deter people from wrongdoing. If a thief knows he'll get away with stealing, he'll do more and more theft. If a thief knows he'll be caught out, he may not commit theft. Moral grounding should be there, but not only moral grounding, social grounding is necessary. Not only social grounding, legal grounding is necessary, legal framework, that if a person commits a theft, the punishment is 0 to 3 years, he should know that he may go in. He should know that he will surely go in if he's done some theft. His finger marks, print marks will be removed. His mobile phone location may be taken. His car details and its entering any society gate will be taken. All these are aspects with which you can try and see that you secure justice. Because if those who are guilty go scot-free, then there will always be hope in the future criminal that he will get away with murder. Having said that, I also say justice means that no innocent should be punished for the fact that you want a greater conviction rate. It is a very well-known principle in law which I'm sure you are all aware of, that 99 guilty may go scot free, but one innocent person should not be caught. So, all these are important aspects as to how we have to work hard to scientifically ensure justice and higher conviction rates. So, having said all this, the question is, what does justice mean to everybody, to you, to me? Justice means that a decision should be quick. It shouldn't be 1 crore cases pending in all the courts in India. Justice has to be quick. It should not be justice after our lifetimes. I remember a professor of law who was teaching us rent, landlord-tenant disputes, said that his grandfather had started a litigation. His father had continued it. They were the owners of the property. And he said, my grandfather and father decided this is not going to get decided in our lifetime. Let's make our grandchild a lawyer. So the justice delivery system is slow. Several years ago, I got a case decided for the government, which was a very prestigious matter for them. And I was fortunate that I was able to get it finished within 3 months or 6 months, but the case had been pending since 1952. And it was an exchange or exchange at the time of partition. The case was filed in 52 and it was languishing till 1985, I think it was. No. 95, I think it was. It lived for 40 years. And you can imagine what havoc it played during those 40 years. People encroached on the land, they made jhugis on the land. So, justice delayed is justice denied, justice hurried is justice buried. So, remember, we have to find a mean. Our trials should be fair, should be in open court. There should, as far as possible, be no gag orders, except in cases which become less cases and more media trials and publicity cases. More media trials and publicity cases. And we have to ensure that, as far as possible, those reforms are carried out. In fact, society, which a committee is sitting to do some um, attempt at amending the Criminal Procedure Code, bringing in some changes in laws, trying to delete laws which are old and which are on the statute book should not be there. There are issues whether offenses like sedition should allow to be remain on the statute book, whether the Official Secret Act should not be give way to and be be abrogated, particularly where you have a right to information. There is another country lobby which is saying right to information is too unbridled and should be restricted. So, having said all that, I don't want to take much more time of my young friends. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. But all that I say is law needs constant review. We had a Arbitration Act of 1940. We amended that. We got an Arbitration Act then of, I think it was 1980 or 71. Then we have the 1996 Act. Now there was an amendment to it in 2013. Then there was an amendment to it subsequently. So law evolves, law changes. We grow with the times. We grow with improvement with the times. There is one very wise jurist who made a statement, and I think that those of us who become join the legislature, join the law ministry, or become politicians and become law framers and lawgivers rather than law enforcers, they should see that whatever amendments in law are carried out, they should be made with a view that they will serve posterity for the next 50 or 100 years. It should not be a knee jerk reaction, either to the Juvenile Justice Act. What should be the age of juveniles? Should sedition be allowed to continue? Should official secret act be there? These are some questions. These questions have no ready answers. It's you who have to debate and think and then decide. Thank you.
Well, ma'am, we have some questions for you from our viewers, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Uh, well, ma'am, the first question that we have is that we live in a country where judges are compared with gods. We all are quite obvious with the concept of Panch Parmeshwar. A person who sits at the position of a judge has to be unbiased and impartial. This was a statement said by Justice Sikri. Do you feel that this statement is rightfully implemented in today's scenario?
So I'll give you an example, or I will give you something which my father told me. It's my first time that I was going to a Delhi High Court bar function, and one of our judges was retiring. I think it was Justice Prithviraj, I don't know, many years ago. And I told my father, I said, why are we going to the Bar Association function? He said, well, we have to go for 5 minutes. So he would never have his meals there. He would pay for the dinner, but never have dinner. He would go in for 10 minutes and come out. And he told me, he said, you have to respect the institution. So the institution is above all of us. While we have to fight for justice, while if there is some wrongdoing, we should not hesitate to speak up. And there are very few people like who have the gumption to speak, because we know we have to live in this system. So there will be few people, right or wrong, I'm not commenting, but like Mr. Prashant Bhushan, who will stand and speak. But we have to respect the institution. On the other hand, it is equally our duty not to take a moral low ground when it means to voice our concerns, maybe politely, maybe firmly. We are not ready to take a firm ground. I see that more and more successful lawyers who are the helm of bar associations are too anxious not to upset the apple cart. And clearly, there is an element of psychophancy in the legal profession, and there is an element of, even among us as a people, as Indian people, your whole outlook is कि सब चलता है, or why should I stick my neck out? So both things should not happen. Neither should you think sab chalta hai, nor should you not be hesitant to stick your neck out. But one thing one should be, the institution overall should be respected. That's how it grows stronger and stronger.
Ma'am, the other question that we have is, a lot of our viewers are law students who aim at starting a practice at the Supreme Court someday, of being a part of the Supreme Court bar. What is your piece of advice for them? Because you know that young lawyers, especially those who are freshers, who don't have a legal background, are not advised to go to the Supreme Court.
See, this is a big problem. Now, it's existed for over 40 years. For example, in Pakistan, you're not allowed to go for about 10 years. You're not even allowed to go to High Court for some years. So I don't remember the number of years, but let's assume High Court X years, Supreme Court X plus Y years. But that's not how our country has functioned. People go straight to Supreme Court. And my view is, if good lawyers were to practice in trial courts for some years, even the bar as a whole would grow. The bar would be strong. Young people, old people, falsely implicated people, people who need a defense would start getting defended more.
Ma'am, about this Mr. Bhushan case, we know that there was an action by the side of the judiciary, but there is a bar also that holds the responsibility for the discipline by the lawyers. Do you feel that there was an action by the bar on the same case?
Do you feel that there was an action by the bar? So the bar, I think, condemned Mr. Bhushan, if I recall correctly. Uh, that is the Bar Council, but not the Supreme Court Bar. And even the uh, even the attorney general spoke out that it was not a case of punishment. It was not a case that he felt should have been a case of contempt. Judges should not be so oversensitive, and that's what he said. And I would tend to agree with him. Uh, Lawyers will be critical. Criticism doesn't make you disappear from the face of the earth. Criticism can only enrich the debate. But there will be cases where someone has not acted as with as much propriety or correctness as they should. But it is not these every small infraction which needs to be punished. So I feel two wrongs don't make a right. If someone has done something wrong, the judges can't become, they have to rise above all this. They have their respect and their dignity to maintain, and only in very serious cases should they ever invoke contempt of court.
That's all with the question and answers. Thank you so much for these questions. And now I would like to call our head of the department, Mrs. Meenu Chopra, for a word of thanks.
Thank you so much, Abhishek. First of all, thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting the proposal of the students and just enlightening on the daily proceedings that we need to carry on. Like today, sitting just like a student in your class, I just again realized certain few things that as a student, once we started with the law degree program, I thought there were certain ambitions in our minds also. Like probably we may be the good lawyers, probably we shall be able to be a hope for some people. But with the passage of time, somewhere I feel like all those things, they were somewhere, I felt those were dusky itself. But again, while listening to your nice words and your advice, it reminded me all those things again. And probably it is a right time, and probably it is actually the need of the hour for all the law students as well as the fraternity members to enlighten as well as to spread awareness concerning the social causes whatever are coming across. Probably I have actually touched when you said that in the Tihar jail itself, like there are so many people who are just living in the jail without any cause. Like without any cause, when we said that living in jail, and that is again without any offense, and those people could again be pulled out of the jail with so much of minimum to minimum formalities if we take care of that. But nobody actually tries to be hope for any person else. These days, somewhere I also feel like the legal profession has just become you can say like where people expect a lot of money, but without accepting or without expecting that they have to work for the society as well. Thank you so much, ma'am, for just enlightening with all such kind words and giving a new hope, a new ray, a new direction to all the law students as well as to the faculty members. And thank you so much, ma'am, again on behalf of the students, faculty, and the management for just giving your nice words and just giving such kind words and advice, whatever I could say, to our students. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you to lovely university. May the university do better and better. I believe it's really one of the premier universities, and may the students still do better still and have all success.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ending this session, this was the 6th session of e-legal festival edition. This was organized by a student organization, Democrats, under the aegis of Division of Student Affairs, Lovely Professional University. Thank you.